Sigismund spent long periods of time around the year 1400 in Bohemia, dealing with family matters, while the situation within the realm of St. Stephen was still quite unstable. There was still an ongoing revolt that hadn't been dealt with, not to mention the still potential Ottoman threat. Palatine Bebek and Chancellor Archbishop of Esztergom János Kanizsa feared Sigismund's increasing power and disliked his appointed foreigners to prominent positions. So they gathered some supporters and organized a coup in April of 1401, soon after Sigismund returned to the realm. They demanded that Sigismund remove all of the foreigners from their positions. After he refused, they locked him up, declared him dethroned, and began to debate a replacement. But as they got bogged down debating whether to offer the throne to Ladislav of Naples, Vladislav II of Poland, or William of Austria, Nicholas Garay Jr. helped Sigismund make a break for it. After a short period of negotiations, Sigismund promised the rebels immunity, and that he would eventually remove the foreigners. And everyone agreed that they would all pretend that none of this ever actually happened, while holding their fingers crossed behind their backs. In 1402, Sigismund replaced Palatine Bebek with Nicholas Garay Jr., and announced that he was departing for Bohemia, again, to fill his coffers and get his brother to confirm him as heir to the crown of Bohemia, if not more. Before Sigismund left, he made sure most of the royal possessions were in the hands of loyalists, and he named his friend, Albert IV of Austria, as the future king should Sigismund die without a male heir. Now Sigismund's renewed absence and not solving the issues of 1401, the imposition of his own heir upon the realm without consulting the council or the diet, caused Archbishop Kanizsa, former Palatine Bebek, the Archbishop of Kalosha, the voivodes of Transylvania, and a great number of the minor nobility to rise up in revolt against Sigismund in 1403, joining the ongoing revolt in Dalmatia in favor of Vladislav of Naples, son of Charles II of Hungary and Ferdo of Naples. On Sigismund's side were his supporters, most prominently Count Hermann of Celle. He also had the support of the royal towns and cities, which almost always sided with the crown. Vladislav of Naples himself arrived in Zadar, in Dalmatia, in the summer of 1403, with a papal legate, and blessings from the Roman Pope Bonifacius IX. He was crowned on the 5th of August 1403 by the Archbishop of Esztergom as King of Hungary, Dalmatia, and Croatia in Zadar. Very soon after the coronation, Ladislav left, and handed most of the control in the area to his supporters, most prominently Hrvoje Vukčić Hrvatinić. Aside from Ladislav leaving his would-be realm almost instantly, unlike his predecessors, thus probably demoralizing his supporters, the size and arrogance of the revolt against Sigismund was its undoing. The rebels, so sure in their victory, didn't rush, and allowed Sigismund's forces to rally and defeat the rebels one by one. When he captured the main holding of the Archbishop of Esztergom, Sigismund made a grand show of power by holding court there in full royal regalia. By 1404, Sigismund had largely secured Hungary and began advancing into Croatia and Dalmatia. He managed to quell the revolt through a mixture of pardons and light punishments for those that surrendered immediately. But many would not serve in capacities they had before, while the land of those that kept rebelling would be given to Sigismund's supporters. At the same time, Hrvoje Vukčić Hrvatinić had accumulated so much authority that he even kicked out his former senior, King Ostoja of Bosnia, and replaced him with Tvrtko II Kotromanić, son of Tvrtko I of Bosnia, and Ostoja fled to Sigismund. With the realm more or less secure, in 1405 Sigismund decided to reward the loyalty of the royal towns and cities by summoning their representatives to a new special urban assembly where he confirmed their rights and privileges altogether instead of individually. Sigismund, by the grace of God, King of Hungary, Dalmatia, Croatia, Rama, Serbia, Galicia, Lodomeria, Cumania, and Bulgaria, Margrave of Brandenburg, Arch-Chamberlain of the Holy Roman Empire, heir of Bohemia and Luxembourg. After having called together the emissaries and delegates of the cities, towns, and free villages under royal jurisdiction, and having listened to and understood well all their petitions, requests, presentations, views, and complaints, we have decided, ordered, and commanded that certain cities be surrounded by protective walls, certain free villages and towns be raised to the status of cities, certain customs which appear rather to be abuses be abolished, others changed, others improved, and some newly established. I won't bore you with the details of this, but Sigismund, of course, gave these rights in order to secure even more loyalty, build up his power base, and sources of revenue for the crown. But Sigismund would eventually and conveniently forget about some of the rights guaranteed to some of the cities and towns when it suited his closer allies, such as the family of his new wife, Barbara of Celle, daughter of good old Count Hermann. Through Barbara's status as queen consort, the Celle family was given even more estates in Slavonia, which again ate into the royal revenues, and Sigismund was still in need of a lot of money. Even before this, in 1402, he sold Neumark, part of Brandenburg, to the Teutonic Knights. The financial mismanagement Sigismund had been dealing with since the beginning of his reign came to the point where he could not provide high office holders with the traditional royal properties and castles associated with the office, as he needed them for his own revenue. Instead, he started to give out a salary. Most royal castles were put under command of captains, appointed and commanded directly by the king. And also, the court started hiring commoners to quite a few of the lower offices. To further secure loyalty with dwindling funds and lay the groundwork for another one of his efforts, in 1408 Sigismund created the chivalric Order of the Dragon, appointing many of his closest allies to the order, along with those who Sigismund wanted to turn into his allies. Around the time, Sigismund mounted another campaign to crush the rest of the revolt in the south. In 1409, Ladislav of Naples, seeing the writing on the wall and in severe need of money to secure even his realm in Italy, sold the rights to his possessions in Dalmatia to Venice for the pitiful sum of just 100,000 gold ducats. But Ladislav was desperate. Venice immediately began taking over territory that was under Ladislav's authority, while Ladislav's now former lieutenant, Hrvatinić, surrendered to Sigismund and was allowed to keep the titles that he still held in Dalmatia, and was inducted into the Order of the Dragon. Venice would spend some time campaigning to subjugate what it could of the Dalmatian coastal communes. The commune of Zadar, to save face, put on a show pretending that they had invited the Venetians back instead of surrendering to them. Sigismund would make attempts to take back Dalmatia from Venice. The campaign in 1411 into Forlania failed, after which Sigismund took out a massive loan from the King of Poland in 1412 and tried again. The campaigns of 1412 and 1413 also failed, and Sigismund agreed to a truce with Venice. But this matter was not completely over and done with yet. Long story short, Ladislav of Naples himself was occupied with conflicts in Italy relating to the papal schism, and fighting off his old rival to the throne, Louis II of Anjou. Ladislav sacked Rome in 1413 and died a year later from illness on the 6th of August 1414. His sister Joan II would succeed him, get into another fight with another Louis of Anjou, and in short the Capet-Anjou line ended with her death in 1435, the throne afterwards being fought over between Louis III's brother René and Alfonso V of Aragon.